going to get kicked off, of course, straight away with the ICJ ruling on Israel and genocide, Palestine. So what have they said? They noted that they were deeply concerned by the continuing loss of life in Gaza. They said that the present case is limited, that South Africa and Israel are both parties to the Genocide Convention, so they're expecting Israel to comply with the rulings. And they said that they absolutely have jurisdiction to make orders. Now, the orders that they made, most of the rulings were a 15-2 majority, but it's noticeable that they used language like take all measures, that Israel needs to take all measures to prevent, and so on. They're not calling, or they haven't called for an outright ceasefire at this point. She absolutely said that the court has jurisdiction to consider the case. And they said that the rulings today are not prejudicial to any future genocide decision. Piers, let me welcome you to the program at this point. I appreciate that you haven't had it, and none of us has had a chance to look at this in any detail yet. But I mean, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, initially, at least this issue has not been kicked into touch at this point to take these potential proceedings out of the game. So, in that sense, there's a positive there. Whether the comments firm enough, and as you pointed out, in terms of calling for an immediate ceasefire, I mean, some commentators seem to be highlighting that and how much of an issue that is. I think that's probably not as important as the bigger point here is that this is going ahead, that this is going to clearly go into a long legal phase. And, Israel has now got itself into a corner where it can be, it's very likely to end up being found guilty of carrying out genocide. I mean, we have to wait and see what happens in the long run on that, but that is definitely still in play. And I think in terms of the broader situation, Israel's position, because of the policies it's pursued, has increased its isolation internationally, places it in an increasingly fragile position if there's further military escalation in the Middle East, which also seems to be on the cards. So I think, that's about as much as I could read into this as this has just happened. But the problem is not going away. This is not a problem that's going to be buried. And I think this is, as we've said before, this is going to end up being a very bad story for the Israeli government in the medium term, at least.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Piers. Now, obviously, this is a breaking story, so we don't have any more on it at this time. We will keep you posted in due course.